ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on party members to exercise discipline as the second leg of the party's 55th National Conference continue in Bloemfontein in the Free State. Now, for more on the conference and Ramaphosa's address, we are joined by political analyst Dr. Clyde Ramalaine, who is on the line with us. Dr. Clyde, good evening and thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much, sir. Happy New Year to you and the team, and thank you for having me.
Right, and we'll also be joined by Dr. Vilakazi in a bit. I think she's already on the line with us. Dr. Vilakazi, good evening to you too.
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers at home.
Thank you so much. Clyde, let me come back to you and just on the issue of what the President spoke about and speaking about cracking or almost cracking the whip and calling on party members to exercise discipline as the second phase of the party's 55th National Conference got underway in the Free State. I mean, do you feel that at this point the President has what it takes to actually crack the whip and get the members to toe the line, as it were?
Well, let me start off by saying that it is a bit expeditious or even it's just a question of the President at this point in time, a month ago, was prepared to resign. So he cannot be a president who speaks in any form of strength. If he talks about discipline right now, it should be taken with a cup of salt because the president himself is a man currently that is suspect. He's suspect in many ways. We don't know what conference had resolved on concerning Phala. We know that before conference started, it was kicked to touch by the NEC for the conference. The conference met. We still don't know what the report is from the Integrity Commission concerning Phala and digital vibes. So it would appear to me that there's somehow a deal going on that to keep this stuff in abeyance. We heard the new SGs talk about there will be a new committee formed. No problem with regard to that. The question that we have as South Africans is will this issue also be filed in Cabinet 13 or in the dustbin? And so should we just continue? So it is rather disingenuous for the President to then talk about respect or discipline when the President has shown himself as ill-disciplined in many, many instances in this regard. So what moral authority does the current President or even some of his NOBs have who have issues to answer concerning the findings of the Zondo Commission, concerning issues on Bosasa, and a slew of other issues, including the Deputy President, for that matter, Thomas Shatile, the Chairperson, the Deputy SG, Nombula Makonyane is mentioned in there. And we can go on a list of names that have been raised on the subject matter. So what discipline is the President referring to when they can't lead as the existing NOBs in being disciplined?
Let me bring in Dr. Vilakazi on this matter also. Just your take on the comments, Dr. Vilakazi, on what the President has spoken about issues of discipline, the fact that the conference had to be extended due to so many delays. Again, to the question that I posed to Dr. Ramalaine, is the President, does he have the power to crack the whip, or is it just talk shop? Dr. Vilakazi?
I am struggling to hear a little bit. I'm not sure if you're calling on me.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Vilakazi. I was saying to you,
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Vilakazi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I was saying that does the President, based on what he said, cracking the whip and talking about discipline, does he have that power, at least, and the support to us members to toe the line?
Well, I mean, I do not think that there is anyone within the ANC, including the President, that really has got the moral authority to call on members, to exercise some level of discipline. I really even think that the tone and the angle at which the leadership of the ANC, including the President, is taking around the issue of discipline is problematic because it's a selective, narrative of discipline that does not take into cognizance the fact that some of the issues that are not being attended to by the ANC leadership in terms of Rule 25, which speaks to issues of discipline, are issues that are affecting leaders themselves, including the president, right? And if one then has to expect membership and branches and individual followers of the ANC to exercise discipline, it would have to be starting, from leadership. From the leadership, there's a saying, fellow South Africans, that says, fish starts rotting from the head. And if you are then going to advocate for the fact that fish must not be rotten, fish must be raw and fresh and be eaten well, you have to exercise that ability yourself. And I think in this particular instance, the president may really just be repeating something that we've seen at Nazareth. Where you have seen immediately after the voting of the top 7, you were seeing empty chairs in the commissions. You saw the rest, the majority of people really live in conference. Yes, we are being told that it was because people needed to go to work. It has never happened in the history of the ANC conferences. That you've seen a kind of thing like that. So that's, for me, that signals the fact that even the level of authority that the current president incumbent has is dwindling. And this is something that I think we all are aware of as South Africans, that the divisions within the ANC are glaring. The level of confidence, even in the leadership, even respect and issues of trust, are not just issues that are facing ordinary South Africans, are issues that are dwindling within the ANC. And I was saying, even before Colonel House resigned, fellow South Africans and viewers at home, that the ANC is falling into pieces. And I think the issue of discipline is the biggest challenge that the ANC is facing. I don't think that there's any authority that the president will be able to enjoy, even at this last leg of the conference, just in terms of issues of discipline and because of the issue that I'm saying. Colonel House has resigned from his own political party. There are issues of discipline around Mamukosa Zuma and Ramalaine, which are also selective, and there's this question that's saying, why is it that this is good for some and not others, including the president? And that question stands, and I think that is one question that deepens this lack of authority that, in my view, is glaring.
But Dr. Vilakazi, on that point again, there is the notion that yes, there's divisions, there's many issues that the president has to deal with, but then others are saying that, well, with this top 7, maybe he's got an NEC that has his backing that will allow him to at least exercise this renewal that he's talking about, the direction that he wants the ANC to go into going into 2024 elections.
Well, I just think that is a pat on the back of the president. We have to make him feel better. In the second term, we should know that constitutionally, within the African National Congress, decisions are made by the NEC in its entirety, right? And you've got about 80 members of the National Executive Committee that have got to ensure that the decisions, even if they're taken by the top 7, are actually decisions of the NEC. So it is not necessarily to say we've got 5 people the whole NEC will tag along. It is not going to happen. We still have people like Bomama and many others, in the additional members who do not necessarily support the ideas of President Cyril Ramaphosa. And we've seen this in the outgone NEC, and it has been spoken even by members to say we've never been able to work together. There's been high divisions amongst ourselves, ideologically, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, and politically. And I don't think that this is different. The fact that we've got just a number of 4 people that are supporting in the top 7 does not necessarily mean that you have won authority and support within the NEC. I think it's still going to be a challenge for simple reasons. The splitting of the ANC itself internally. The people that are still hostile voices against the agenda of President Cyril Ramaphosa are going to make sure that agenda does not continue. And we've seen this happening in the past. I don't have any confidence personally, and perhaps I represent the views of many South Africans out there, that anything will change with this particular NEC, because it's the same African National Congress that we are dealing with here. Yeah.
So, Dr. Ramalaine, let me bring you back into the conversation here and say then, with everything that we're talking about, the divisions and the promises that might not even come to fruition, when the ANC or the president specifically speaks about this renewal, what does he need to do in this 18 months to get the ANC back on track to possibly get a good result in the elections?
Well, Kwena, and the listeners, and Dr. Vilakazi, nice to see you too. Let me say the following. The president had 5 years talking renewal, and there was no renewal. If anybody has the hope, and I sound pessimistic for some people, but if anybody has the hope that the same man who failed for 5 years to deliver on renewal can in 18 months somehow pull a rabbit out of their hat and produce renewal, they are on a farcical trip. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that the ANC, as it's currently structured, currently governed, currently managed from the Tuli House to its NEC, the outgoing NEC and the new NEC, has been completely incapable of realizing the vision, the necessary vision of its own resolution of renewal, because its understanding of renewal is not just questionable, but it is highly suspect. Renewal for the ANC under Cyril Ramaphosa means dealing with the former president and his so-called cohort. Renewal for those around Cyril Ramaphosa means dealing and lynching those whom they have identified to be part of what we call now state capture. However, the very same people who are responsible for the renewal are questionable. They find their hands and their feet in mud. We know so because these are the same people that must now preside over a disciplined ANC that will work towards unity and renewal. When the 54th conference closed, you would recall that at that stage, renewal and unity was the subject matter and mandate given to the president of the ANC at the time, Ramaphosa himself and his leadership. Now the question becomes, how is it possible that the recent conference never assessed and gave the president and his team a grade, including the NEC, a grade on its performance as to whether they have attained it or not? Well, it's simple. Renewal, like many things in the ANC, is a football that you kick around and it suits whoever. Rightly so, Dr. Vilakazi indicated that the application of discipline in the African National Congress is questionable because it's only meted out to those who are not part of the cohort. There are so many people that have supported President Ramaphosa at this point in time who are questionable figures. And how on earth can he continue with these people exercising discipline or even hoping to renew the ANC? So I'm saying it's a farcical dream for the ANC to get there. Let me then tell you what I think would transpire.
Yeah, before you continue, Dr. Ramalaine, I just want to understand then, before you move to your next point. So if you're saying that at this point renewal is just a bouncing football that they keep kicking from this one place to the other, how do we then, as South Africa, get some sort of renewal, if it's possible, with the ANC in power?
Well, South Africa has we have committed one error for the last 30 years. And the error is we have outsourced our agency to political parties and fraternities. It is time South Africans find its currency, or rather take back its agency from where it outsourced it to. What am I saying when I'm saying that? I'm saying the solutions of our country has never been in the hands of politicians. And if it is, it's because we have given them that power. When we take our power back, it is when we go to the elections in 2024 and register our displeasure, not just with the African National Congress, but equally so with the DA, equally so with the EFF, equally so with every other party that does not engender the values that we're standing for. So I'm saying South Africans have the opportunity in the next 18 months to make a calculated decision to give this African National Congress in its current state what it deserves. And what it deserves is not our vote. And I'm saying that categorically so because the African National Congress has failed us in every aspect as well as respect. It has failed the poor. It has failed the kids who are leaving school. It has failed women to protect women. It has rather elected people onto its NEC that are known for gender-based violence. The ANC has been very reluctant to deal with its own cancers, corruption being one, the other one malfeasance, the other one a lack of leadership in terms of taking this country forward. So the question that Africans are confronted with is, do we need to continue to outsource our agency to an untrustworthy partner like the African National Congress, who is only interested in its own self, and its own self at this point in time is defined in a second termism of Cyril Ramaphosa, nothing else.
Let's hold it there, Dr. Ramalaine. Let me bring in Dr. Vilakazi. On the same point, Dr. Vilakazi, of renewal, is it possible to get some sort of renewal with the ANC in power, or for South Africa to get some sort of renewal, and I'm using the phrase obviously from what the ANC has been talking about, to have a different party in power? Will that make things better for us as South Africans?
I think that what is actually happening here, and this is a message also to the African National Congress and all of us as citizens of this country, is that our democracy has reached a particular era, right? And in my analysis and my reading is that this is an era of what we could call a maturing democracy that can no longer rely on a single party system like we have been led by the ANC. And I think that is a message in terms of renewal, the kind of renewal that we need as a nation is a renewal that takes us away from a single party state. That is the one thing I would like to say.
So are we then moving into the realm of coalitions? David Makura was just speaking now, and he said, look, it's not a strategy that they are using for the next elections, but obviously they will try and Dr. Vilakazi, are you still there with us?
Yes, my sincere apologies. I think my network got cut off there. So what? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So what I was saying is that we need to do away with the single party state, and we then need to recognize that we need to reconfigure our party political system because it is flawed in the manner that it stands in what we are calling our constitutional democracy. Because every political party is actually pushing for power. Right? Power, which is singular. And I think we are at an era where we can no longer afford to not share power. We need a power sharing arrangement. And that's the message also in terms of the ANC. It can be a part of that power sharing arrangement, but it means that the ANC and any other political party would need to then change their tactics. They need to change their strategic engagement in terms of the political system and be willing to share power with opposition, to share power with even constituencies within communities. And this is something that happened, I always say, remind us of this, that we had a Slapped Commission report, which is being shelved. And this report, amongst other proposals that it put on the table for South Africa, earlier, around 2003, it said that we need a constituency-based system so that you get influencers within communities, non-governmental organizations that are doing the work that the state should be doing, to come and be part of reconfiguring our political system. And that is the reality of where we are. And the sooner political parties realize that democratic centralism is no longer a mechanism that can assist us, the better for all of us to begin to then say, how do we develop mechanisms politically that decentralize power systems, right, in the manner that is not just about political parties, but you also get really radical workers within communities, foot soldiers who are really doing amazing work to heal this nation that is not recognized, to be on board in terms of decision making around policies, the direction and the fiscus. How should we spend our money? How should we redistribute the resources that we make as a nation, and how do we build relationships and friendships with countries that have supported us as we're building this democracy? Because some of those friends we are beginning to lose. For reasons that we are not holding this democracy very well. So that is the renewal I'm seeing. And I think at this 55th National Conference, the ANC, in its commissions and these discussions, they really have to think about a tactical matter here of power sharing. We are calling it coalitions now in South Africa. Coalitions have happened in India. They've happened in Finland. They've happened in a number of other maturing democracies, right? We can look at that, but we can also say, as South Africans, a model that I always go back to is the model of the UDF, the United Democratic Front, was just an example of how we're capable of sharing power amongst ourselves from different voices of society. Of course, that has been dismantled has lost power over time. But we can regenerate that. And saying this with confidence, fellow South Africans, we still have people within communities who are saying we cannot let this country fall down. Some of those people are moving away from political parties, forming something else that is different.
Dr. Vilakazi,
remain patriotic to this nation.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dr. Vilakazi, we're out of time. Let me thank you, Dr. Fikile Vilakazi and Dr. Clyde Ramalaine, for both of you for joining us on this conversation. Thank you very much.